This, of course, is the essence of Athens. We're trying to find things, trying to build consensus from my point of view, and this is just my point of view. I'll leave it to the two planners back there, Paul Logue, and Kyle over here. They'll wave, but essentially, I'm looking for consensus of where we go, what is unique of Athens, what we love about Athens. I'll leave it to them to talk about it, but I always, I'm here because I love it here. It's whether it's the Passionworks flowers, whether it's the Surf Ohio, Hocking River shirts. I started thinking about what I love about Athens, and it's those bumper stickers that say, keep Athens funky. It's also the brick streets, but that's not unique. Bricks, there's a million of them out there that say Athens block. And if you talk to Ed Newman, he'll say there's 8 different kinds, lugs in, lugs out, and backwards ends. Right? Yeah, all you brick connoisseurs out there. So it's supposed to be a short exercise. I think I'll get a homework assignment, I assume. And I'll leave it at that, except thank you for coming, because I know you guys are here because you love Athens. So Paul Logue will be the next person to say as little as possible, because he's just like this.
Thank you, everybody, for coming this evening. I do really appreciate it. I know everybody's time is valuable. There's a lot going on, even on a Thursday night when it's 90 degrees in Athens, so I do appreciate everybody taking some time out from their evening for this evening. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Paul Logue. I'm the planner for the city of Athens. What we're doing tonight, what Kyle will be talking about here in a few minutes, it's a project we're calling the Essence of Athens Plan. I've had a few people ask if we were just asking people to tell us what they liked about Athens. No. What we want to learn is what people think makes Athens a great place, what we think makes Athens special. We want to learn what is that essence that we all love about Athens. Most people in this room, I presume, or I hope, love Athens. A lot of us were never born or raised here. We ended up here, or we chose to move here from wherever we were from, and we all feel like we love this place. Just to let everybody, kind of a little bit of background on how we ended up at this point right now. For about the last 6 months or a year, I've been going to meetings for Athens Municipal Arts Commission. Bob Winters is the chair, and Ken Butler with City Services is the city council representative for it. I've been trying to talk with the Municipal Arts Commission about an idea that was bouncing around in my head that I couldn't formulate very well, but what I was saying is if people in Athens say that Athens is an arts community, that we need to see art in our daily lives. We shouldn't have to go to a theater, go to a museum, go to a gallery to see art. I should be able to see art or representations of what makes Athens an artistic community at a red light, just by looking around for 10 seconds, or by walking down the street. Those things, those images should be reinforced into my head. I was not very good at that point about articulating how we should do that. And while I was working on some of those ideas, in just a moment of serendipity, I received an email from Kyle Diesel. We started talking about a planning theory that he'd been working on for a while, for about 10 to 20 years, which was lining up perfectly with what I was thinking. But what Kyle was presenting was not necessarily focusing on art, although art and design are huge components of it. It's about making sure that what we're doing as a community and what we're building and what we're seeing reflects the city of Athens and makes sure that we are a unique place. So when you're in the city of Athens, you know you're in Athens, Ohio. You know you're not in Kent, or dare I say it, Oxford, or Bowling Green, or Pittsburgh, or London, England, etc. So what Kyle's going to do here in a few minutes is really jump into that, and we'll talk about what we are going to be asking the community to do over the next few weeks, and then what we're going to do after. This meeting is not the end game. I know a lot of people in Athens love a good meeting. I'm guilty of that myself. Not much on TV at 6 o'clock on a Thursday night, so why not just have a meeting and we'll all just talk about it. We don't just want we're not going to do everything in this meeting. We're just going to try to kick it off, educate as much as people want to learn about this process, and then try to get everybody to get involved as much as they want to, possibly, and ideally spread the word. We've tried to set up several different ways with which you can communicate your concepts of the essence of Athens to make it easy for you so that you don't have to, for those who couldn't be at this meeting, that you can still contribute. But I will let Kyle talk more about that. So without much further ado, I would like to introduce to you Kyle Ezel. And just as a little bit of background on Kyle, he's an assistant professor of practice in the City and Regional Planning program at Ohio State. He is also a member of their clinical faculty. He is the chair of the undergraduate program for City and Regional Planning at Ohio State. In his previous career, before he got on faculty at Ohio State, he was the downtown planner for the beautiful city of Chattanooga, Tennessee. He was also a planner for Maryville, Tennessee, which is a lovely small town in the Great Smokies. And he was a planner for the city of Dublin, Ohio. As well, he was the land bank manager for the city of Columbus. Kyle has his bachelor's degree in planning.
Actually, business
Administration for the University of Tennessee at Knoxville, and his master's degree in city and regional planning from South Dakota State. Kyle is also a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners, and he is doing this. He will probably be able to explain this to you. He's doing this specifically because he thought Athens was the type of community that would gather around an idea like this. Before this meeting started, he was saying, about how many people do I think will come? I said, oh, at least 40, maybe 50. And he said, no way, there's going to be 10 people here. And at about 5:30, I think we already had 3 people in the room. So, again, we do love meetings here. But I'll leave Kyle to handle the rest. And again, thank you for coming, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kyle Ezel, and I'll just introduce who I am. I would like to thank a few people before I start. Do I need a mic? Would you rather have a mic, cameraman? You guys,
I think you sound a little bit better with the microphone.
okay, all right.
You need to turn on the back of that. Yeah, and have that close.
I'm going to test it out. You guys, is this attentive or is it okay? All right. So, Mayor, thank you very much. Thanks for your hospitality. I really appreciate it. Paul, thank you very much too. Paul and I have been working on this for about 6 weeks, I'd say, and just discussing back and forth, meeting in Logan, and halfway, well, it's not really halfway, but between Columbus and Athens, and really spending a lot of time together. So thanks, Paul. I'd also like to thank Chris Fall. She's not here tonight, no, I don't think. Okay, well, thank you very much, City Councilwoman Fall. And also Paula Moran Mosley, the City Service Safety Director. She's right there. Thank you for coming. And is Bob Winters here? Of course, Bob. I talked to you out in the hall. Thanks for coming too. And Paige Lost. Is it a Lost? What? Tell me how to pronounce it. Alos. I'll never forget. So thanks for coming to the stage. And thanks for all of you. Is this not working?
No.
Thanks for all of you for coming as well. As Paul said, I would have never guessed that more than 10 people would show up. For something like this. And Paul is right. I knew that Athens would be the perfect place to start this. And as a matter of fact, as a matter of fact, I couldn't have started this anywhere. I wasn't geographically constrained at all. And the first city I thought of was Athens. I wrote this long email about what my theory was and about how I wanted to start it. And literally 30 minutes later, we got we're on it. And then the mayor's on it. And everybody, I knew it. As a city planner, I knew this was the place to come. But, I'm a consultant of sorts now because I'm trying to pitch an idea to you. But I'd like to just explain to you who I am and where I come from a little bit, because I'm not local. You all know each other probably, right? Most of you know each other. So here's who I am. It's easy to describe. I live a pretty one-dimensional life. When I was 5 years old, I have to go back to 5 years old. I think this is important. When I was 5 years old, I became city planner when I was 5 years old. Yes, and it's hard to believe. You may not think this is ridiculous, but I collected poster boards and pens and drew cities when I was 5 years old. little bitty, way before SimCity, way before any of the computer games, or I was drawing cities, little trees, little houses, little streets, little downtowns, little schools, all over the postal board. And my sisters, my younger sister and my friends, they spent money to go to the amusement park and go and buy toys. All I bought was postal boards. So over my childhood into my teens, I had literally hundreds, a stack of drawn cities, each one to get a little bit better than the last one. So I've been thinking about how to make cities better for a really long time. And I introduced that to you because I want to let you know that what standing here in front of you at this moment is thrilling. This is like a childhood dream to be able to do something like this and have this sort of response. So I just wanted to share that with you, and also let you know that my poor parents, they were so worried about me because, could you imagine? I was completely single-minded, drawing cities all day, leave me alone, drawing cities all day. Cities up on my drawn up on my wall instead of pictures of teen idols. So I just like to tell mom and dad, watching on camera, I'm probably going to send this to them. You should be very proud just to let me be passionate about my city. More relevant to that, to what we're doing tonight, though, Paul said I've been thinking about this for 20 years, and I have. For 24 years, I've been researching ways that communities, and particularly municipalities, make decisions. And decisions related to quality of life and economic development and what gets built on the ground. And you know what I discovered after a few years, it didn't take long to understand how municipalities work. They copy each other. I know that when I was an employee of Columbus, a lot of planners in Columbus all gathered together and gathered the leaders together and all went to Austin, Texas to see what Austin was doing. Let's find out what they're doing and we'll come back and we'll do that. I know communities, I won't name the communities because I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but some communities across the country have gone to San Antonio and looked at the Riverwalk and then return back with a smaller version of the Riverwalk in their towns. But it will never be the San Antonio Riverwalk. It's a watered down version of the Riverwalk, right? So I've been discussing this with my colleagues and writing about it and rewriting about it. And I have to say that copying ideas is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing because you don't want to reinvent the wheel all the time. And Paul and I had a discussion up in Logan in one of these meetings where, if you're in a high crime town, the town has Athens somehow had high crime, really high crime. And Lancaster, Ohio had high crime too. Well, the police chief would just go to Lancaster and find out what they did and discover that Lancaster reduced their crime by half. Well, we'll just do that. Of course, that's what we should do. But when it comes to visual things on the ground, the streets, the street lights, the sidewalks, infrastructure, the public realm, parks, buildings, when you start copying those sorts of things, you begin to morph into other communities. And that levels the economic development playing field. Listen, I'll explain in a minute. Athens is so far ahead of that. You don't look like very many towns out there, right, as it stands right now. But 90,000 municipalities in America alone are copying each other. They're copying each other's best practices. They're all doing it at the same time. So if you don't have a lovely mountain vista or an ocean or something really, really cool other than just your townscape, you're relying on those other things. And that's why it's so important to think about what is the essence of your town and how can you make sure that that is expressed clearly for quality of life purposes, but also for economic development purposes. I'll explain here in my presentation. That's my introduction. But I want to go on here to tell you my perception of Athens. I've only been here 10 times. I'm from Tennessee. But I have kind of an indirect tie to Athens because my mom is from Cincinnati area. And my first cousins, Carolyn and Ellen, were 10 years or so older than me. And when I was a kid and I would visit them, they were OU students. And they always told me as I'm drawing on my poster, Athens is so cool. You would love to come to Athens. It's such a neat town. Wow, oh, Athens. Oh, it's got it going on. I heard it a lot, Athens, Athens, Athens. So I had a really good positive impression of Athens. Even when I was at the University of Tennessee, I met a woman in Kroger in front of me, and she had a Bobcats keychain, and I said, are you from Athens? She said, yes, I am. I said, oh, that's a cool place. I had no idea. I just knew that. My cousin said it was a great place, so at least I had that sort of tie. But I want to tell you, consultants come and they go, and sometimes consultants come in and tell you what to do. Like, I'm going to come here to fix your town. I'm going to make sure that you take my advice, and then I'll tell you what to do, and I'll leave, and you can maybe do it or not. It doesn't matter. But what I'm going to do right now is tell you that I don't know enough about Athens to fix anything, and it doesn't need to be fixed. As great as it is, obviously, because I spend a lot of time. I may have a sunburn on top of my head, but I spend a lot of time today walking Athens in the sweltering heat, feeling what it feels like to be there, and it is an amazing place as it stands. But my impression of Athens, regardless, I just want to tell you what my impression is. The people are remarkable. And this is a testament to that is right here in this room with this huge audience. But I know that Athens people are open-minded, really open-minded, and this is my perception. It may not be yours, it's mine. Open-minded and willing to try things. They're very in tune with the environment locally and the greater global environment. They are artist types. They're very creative people. They're very expressive people. That's what I've always thought about Athens. And is this the case, or is this just? I'm really. I want to know: is this true, or is it a little bit more? Am I glorifying Athens a little bit? Okay. Well, I'm sure. That's my top level assessment of the people. So, with that, I know that Athens has a spirit about it, and here's how I know, because I have students who are graduate students, and some of them came from OU, and they always talk, I've got to go back to Athens this weekend. I've just got to get back there. I just need it. And I say, what are you talking about? Get back there, and they just got to go back, And I have a friend who went to OU and then lived here for 10 years or so, and now lives in Columbus, and she does the same thing. There's something intangible about Athens that it's not found in a lot of places, in Ohio or otherwise, that Athens is that sort of place. That's my perception of Athens. Also, another one is the stories of Athens. I just say this because I've been watching The Soul of Athens for years. You know that? You all know The Soul of Athens? Who's the man in charge of that?
Pages husband.
Is your husband? Well, I happened on that, I think in 2010, and I've been watching that. And all of it's not videos, but the videos are compelling. The stories, people who live here have amazing stories. So these, in my eyes, these three, this is a very broad brush, overgeneralized assessment. But these things are what Athens means. This is what I feel Athens is, and it may not be the case. But again, I am a consultant. I have no idea what Athens really is. I can't tell you. Have to tell me, and then we all have to tell each other what Athens is. That's a really strong first step. Specifically, though, I know this bike path is important because when you do research on the internet, this always pops up. It's the university with the bike path on the river. And is it the Hocking Adena? Hocking? Hocking. Okay.
That's the original.
Okay, I see. It pops up all the time. Obviously, extremely important to you, this bike path. I know it goes to Nelsonville, and I've always wanted to come down here and try it out. I'm a marathon runner, and I really get into these multi-use paths, so I know that you're proud of this. And I also know that I had to, there was a lot of graffiti on here I had to etch out, but don't look at that part. Look at the beauty of this area. Imagine how flip-flop Ohio is with Toledo and the Black Swamp on one side and on the southeast diagonal. We have this Appalachia. Is it Appalachia or Appalachian? Is Appalachia? See, where I'm from is Appalachia too. So we have a lot more in common with each other for Tennessee here than maybe you do to Toledo. Do you think maybe?
Yes.
I do too. So that is really kind of a fascinating thing about Athens to me, that it makes it special in Ohio. You usually think of a flat, farmland. We have farms here, but this is pretty interesting to me. I have written 2 books on downtowns, and I will tell you, this uptown, it's amazing. It's a sight to behold. It really is. And you are extremely proud of this. And you should be. I would be proud of this too, if this were in my hometown. Like this level of intensity and care taken for the downtown area. And also this university you have, the Georgian architecture and the park-like setting and the brick sidewalks. And it's the kind of place that, it's kind of like the place where you always wanted to go to college, because it looks like the college that you had in your mind that college was supposed to be. That's what the campus feels like. It's an amazing campus. It's so lucky to have this campus. It's a treasure. And it's beautiful too.
We call it Harvard on
Harvard. Isn't it the hockey? Anyway, then we have, you guys, I don't know if this is all of the radar. I know that what's special about this, to an outsider, is that there's Athens on the brick. Athens block, yeah. It's on the brick. And I know that in Columbus, in my neighborhood, which is a really interesting neighborhood itself, there is Nino, Wisconsin on our infrastructure. So that, is it made in Athens? Is it made? It was. Okay, that is really very fantastic too. So you have all these great things about Athens. And before I get into the specifics of what we're going to do here, I want to just reiterate to you that there's no way that I am here to fix anything, and Paul doesn't really want to fix anything, and the mayor sure doesn't want to fix anything. Doesn't really. You know what I mean?
Some potholes.
You know what I mean? We have a different perspective.
There's the Athens spirit.
Yeah, that's right. The planners, we're not trying to fix Athens, because Athens is amazing by itself. It's already great. It's already great. So I just want to clarify that first and foremost. There's nothing wrong with Athens. There's something so great about Athens. That's why it's the perfect place to start. It's like if you have success, it breeds success. And Athens has such good bones already and such potential that this is the place to do this sort of thing. And when I say that, there are place-making initiatives. They've been around forever. This is kind of a very different, unique, kind of a first-run experience for open-minded Athens. We'll see how this plays out. And I think it's going to play out fine, because I've been thinking about it for 20 years. Okay. The goal here is, besides tying on with a comprehensive plan and getting consensus, is to make Athens a 100% original place. And it already is that, but amplify that to, wow, I can't believe this place. It's almost there. That is an economic development powerhouse thing to do, because of the copying I was telling you about regarding the urban design and the buildings and infrastructure that people copy all the time. So this is the goal. This is what we're trying to do. So I want to give you some thoughts of just what I think about to get you thinking in the direction that I'm hoping to take you in, if that's okay with you. So we have Appalachia here. I was all prepared to say Appalachia. We have Appalachia from, it's really all the way up to Maine, basically, and it goes all the way down, supposedly, to Mississippi, but more like northeast Alabama for the hills. So Athens sits right there, and it's really kind of in the middle of the whole region. But if you look at this, it's smack down. It's pretty well into the region. And Athens, you know, it's a very special place. But the reality of the situation is that there are a lot of other towns in the same situation, or that have the same characteristics as Athens in this just in this region. Do you think that may be true? Do you have any thoughts about that? What would be a community that is a lot like Athens in Appalachia?
North Carolina.
Being North Carolina, definitely. Yes, definitely would be one. Okay, great.
Floyd, Virginia.
Morgan, this is Morgantown. Look at now. Oh, this is Athens. Take a look at Athens. This is Hannah. You took this picture for me. Thank you very much. Hannah took this picture for me the other day. It's just a random shot of Athens. I could put anything up here, anywhere else in town, but I wanted to show you this. Just take a look. It has beautiful historic buildings. It has the big streets. It's maybe charming. What other adjectives would you use for this shot?
Small county.
It is kind of small county. That's enough. Yeah, sure.
Personally, that I go through this place last September, Americans for the Arts, said this whole place is repurposed. It was all purposed for something else at one time or another. Instead of tearing it down and trashing it, you turned it into something that works for both your business and your arts and your culture.
Right.
So repurposed always.
That's a good point. It is definitely repurposed. This is Morgantown. And I picked Morgantown here because Morgantown is around, it's smaller than, it's bigger than Athens, but it's not that much bigger than Athens. It's got a university about the same size as Athens, maybe a little bit bigger. It's in the hills. We have a lot of students running around down the uptown area. I'm not sure if it's uptown or downtown, but if you look at that, there's no great streets, but the setting is a lot like Athens. And I don't know, honestly, I don't know a lot about Morgantown. It really doesn't matter, but I know that I'm sure there's a lot of pride there because it has the similar things that Athens.
We're couches at Ferguson.
Yeah, couches.
That monorail.
That's true. This is Athens, Georgia, and it's on the cusp of Appalachia, and it's bigger than Athens, has a bigger university, but still it's in the hills, it has a university. It's a lot. It has the same characteristics, except a little bit bigger than Athens. This one is State College, Pennsylvania. A lot bigger college or university, but the setting is in the hills. It's got a nice very interesting cute downtown, like Athens. And I don't know a lot about State College, but I bet there is a lot of similarities going on because you have Philadelphia, people coming to the hills to school, and you have people drawn there because of the beauty. This is not in Appalachia, but this is Kent, Ohio. Yeah, Kent State. So Kent has the same size-ish university. It has a nice downtown, a lot of students, and it's near hills. And we have, I bet there are 25 or 30 other places in a similar category in the Appalachian region as Athens, right? That's what I would think. So, if that's the case, how do we make Athens, all the other university towns, and all the other towns in the hills, and all the other towns that have a nice downtown, how do we come up here? That's the most general term I can use right now. and they're all down there. How do we separate ourselves? And I'm using R because I'm here with you. How do we separate ourselves from those places? And if you could separate yourself from those places, imagine the impacts would be tremendous. And I'll get to that in just a few more minutes, but look at this. This is the Hockney Medina Trail. I'm sorry I didn't pronounce that exactly right. And I will. Sorry. Hockney. This trail is great and it's beloved. But in reality, the trail is not a lot different than a lot of other trails. But it's just that it's here that you love it. But does it separate itself really from other trails? It's got grass and it's near a river and it's got trees and views and those sorts of things and pavement. Well, I took a few more pictures of this one is in West Virginia and it's near a river. It's got trees and grass and those sorts of things. And then this one is near Columbus. This one's actually not near the river, but it's got pavement and it has grass and trees and nature. And then you get the idea. This one is in, why isn't it working? It's hung up. The next slide, if it for some reason doesn't come up, is a slide about, you check it out. That next one is a picture similar to the ones you see here from, I think it's in Texas, and another one that was supposed to come up is in Minnesota. So the point here, just like the downtown and the college town, is that how do you make your bike path greenway the bomb? You know, how do you make this place stand out so much that it's nearly unfathomable? People come here for 200 miles just to go for a weekend on this bike path. Why not? Because if you see here, if you see up there, the bike paths are, it wouldn't take a lot to make them different. They all have the same characteristics. I've got a backup over here, so.
It's coming.
It's okay. I can talk to you back up. If the slides work, let me just put you through an imagination experience here.
Yeah, it's not working.
Imagine sidewalks. Imagine sidewalks. What does a sidewalk look like? Concrete. It's concrete, and what else? Cigarette butts. Chewing gum. Anything else? It's bland. So I had some sidewalk pictures, one from my neighborhood, one from California, one from here, one from there. Sidewalks are the biggest missed opportunity probably in any town.
We got it.
Okay, back in Chattanooga, click again.
It freeze again?
Back in
There we go.
my Chattanooga days when I was planning for the downtown area, before I got there, the sidewalk had you've probably seen these. The sidewalk had bronze footsteps where people can dance the Tennessee waltz. You know, they can do the steps. I don't even know what the Tennessee waltz was like. I guess a waltz. They could waltz up the sidewalk, and then they could sing along because there was the songs were, you know, it wasn't playing. You could read the words and sing along as you're dancing. There was a Chattanooga choo-choo one too. I found out later that was a popular idea. But for this purpose, it doesn't really matter because think of what you could do with the sidewalk to make it Athens sidewalk. And if you did that, imagine if you're on an Athens sidewalk and you look down and you take a picture. You take a picture of the sidewalk. Wouldn't that be amazing? To take a picture of it. Have people stop and take, whoa, look at the sidewalk. It's only in Athens. And they send it to Facebook all over the place and tweet, look at this Athens sidewalk. That's one piece of infrastructure out of how many things that we can name that are on the ground. Is this the one or is it not?
It should.
Nope.
Try again.
Okay.
Keep going.
So a few things on the ground. Parts. Street lights. There is an example, there would have been an example of a street light from Latvia.
All right.
Okay?
Hit this button.
Which one?
That one.
Okay. This is what I just talked about making sure that this chatter, the remarkable chatter about Athens sidewalks, that's the goal. That's the 100% original community I was referring to at the beginning. But look at this. Look at these streetlights in Latvia. If you can see, it's kind of a long way away, but this is a hanging upside down sculpture with holding the light upside down. And this one is carrying the light, and this one is dangling with the light. Could you imagine something like this on Court Street?
In Hershey, they have the street lights are shaped like candy kisses.
Okay, well that's an interesting example. But this is some Eastern Bloc country, and people are taking pictures and look at this. I've never heard of this place. I mean, I've heard of it, but I've never really thought about Latvia. And now I am thinking about this. That's a big deal. Another example would be, this is just some random street light that I just pulled off the internet. This one comes from York, England. And what's interesting about this, I didn't have a lot of time or really the will to do a lot of research on this particular picture, but it's a magnet. And are maybe magnets or manufactured there? I don't know. But if magnets are manufactured there, there's nothing to do with magnets. This is a very copyable thing because when you slap up a magnet, it doesn't really matter. Just slap it up there and call it interesting. That's one of the important elements of what I'm talking about, making sure it's authentic. And have any of you ever been to my neighborhood in Columbus? How many of you have never been to the Short North? Raise your hand. Never been there. Have seen this?
Oh, yeah.
All right. All right. Well, for those of you who haven't been, back in the 1800s, these arches in Columbus were the street lights for Columbus, and they were made of wood, and they were gas lamps, and this was what lit the streets. And then, of course, the copying thing has been going on for a long time, because Columbus officials said, "No, we don't want that. Even though we're the only city in the world that has arches, and we're called the Arch City, just tear it down and we'll put just regular old street lights up and be modern, So that's what happened for 80 years. They tore these arches down, and Columbus is still called the Arch City. But in the early 2000s, the arches came back up. At least 17 of them did, and they're lit LED. So every holiday or every season, it's different colors, and they march up the street. And it's gotten Short North into the New York Times several times, and press all over the world from just these arches. And back when these were being discussed, guess how much these arches cost? 17 guess. You have any idea how much 17 arches like this would cost? 13 million. 13 million, someone said? Yeah. 2 million. Now, people were flipping out about the cost of these arches. Oh, what fluff. Oh, with all the other things we need to do, including the potholes, right? You're going to spend the money on this? This is crazy. Oh my gosh, government conspiracy, But it was the will of the people that made this happen. It wasn't the government. It was the citizens. We got to get the arches back up. I would say, being a resident of the Short North, that hundreds of millions of dollars have come back because of this $2 million investment. There are new restaurants galore, best restaurants in Ohio.
I watch your face.
And they have new homes, new apartment buildings. Virtually every building on High Street has been refurbished since these arches have been up in less than 10 years. All of them. And vacancy is 0. And I say that it was a hugely fantastic investment. All right, now, Athens may not be able to make such an investment. It doesn't cost that. It doesn't cost that much money if you can be ingenious about something as small as a sidewalk idea and accumulate as many of these as possible. Here's just another shot of the arches. So, what about street lights? Sorry. What about bike racks? I call this bike rack catalog box because obviously people who were in charge of implementing this bought this from something like an internet catalog or maybe an actual catalog. It bought maybe 100 of them or 500 of them. And they were doing good things because people need to park their bikes. But at the same time, they weren't thinking that there were 90,000 other 89,999 municipalities doing the same thing and buying these bike racks, and you see them everywhere. Another missed opportunity. So one of the another local example for me is this is also in Columbus. It's just handy for me to take, but you can't really tell from maybe back there. But these are all plants. This is a bike shelter, and the bike racks are below, and it's a green. It's more like a pink colored red. What are these plants? I don't know what they are, but they survived the Columbus winters, and these are special cutouts of bike people, and they're steel and they're painted orange, and these are 100% original Columbus bike racks. There are no bike racks in the world like these bike racks. People are trying to copy them. They're wanting the specs for them already. Can we do this bike rack? Can we do this bike rack? No, you do your own, figure out what's your own bike rack. Now, I don't know what this really says about Columbus, except that it's a bike-friendly city. But there's a lot of opportunities for doing original things. This is from Kensington Station, England, and this is a cool piece, a cool bike rack. But you know, I bet you, and I don't know, but I bet you that this was definitely not a bottom approach. It was more of a, do you like my bike rack? Yes. Oh, that was great. Let's just put it in there. What we're trying to do in here is you guys are going to figure out what these things are. What makes the essence of Athens so that can appear on the ground instead of a more top-down approach. Saying, this is our bike rack. Do you like it? Yes, no? Put it on the ground. That's what you're here for, and that's what we're excited for you to be a part of. So more parks and street signs, bus shelters, you can go on and on and on. Everything that you see on the ground is an opportunity for Athens to become the essence of Athens. And the goal here is for you guys to create something create lots of things that are virtually uncopyable. Because you don't want someone to copy your idea and it washes things out. But if you do it right, if you get down into the history and the people and the stories and the spirit of Athens, nobody would want to copy that because it's yours. It's your own. So that's what we're going to be doing in this process too, making sure that everything that we do in this process is as authentic as possible and virtually uncopyable. Now, some of the economic development, I've been alluding to economic development for several times here. But you know that people who are in marketing, they want people to talk about their product. They want people to know that it exists. They want chatter. They want it to be remarkable. What if this is what people already do say this about Athens, like I said. But to make it even more competitive with all of your competitors, and whether or not you know that, all cities and towns are competing against each other. So that's important to know. People say these things about Athens, and our business needs to address it. When I worked in Chattanooga, the city, and this is not the same thing as Athens at all, but the city was losing population. It was one of the few cities in the state that was losing population. And they knew the things that we're talking about now. That's part of my inspiration working there and understanding all the things they did for the visual quality of the community. Well, of course, now they have Amazon company there, and they have Volkswagen new headquarters. North American headquarters there, and a big Volkswagen plant there. And the German people who came, according to my planning friends still there, said that because Chattanooga was such an amazing place, it was such an 100% original place, this is why we're coming here. And that is why it's economic development. This is not fluff. And I know a lot of people who think this, who say this is stuff that a cherry on top of the ice cream cone. And it is in some ways. But if you can do this too. It's something that you should take seriously because it's important to the economy. And also, I don't know how. Oh yeah, thanks. Ingenious, and we should come here on vacation. I think people come here on vacation. They do already. And where do they come from? Do they come from all over the country, or do they come from?
Well, right now, there's a thing in the dairy farm called Float Action.
Okay, so that will call them all over the world. Okay.
I just left there, and there were a couple from Texas that were there.
Oh, that's
We
fantastic.
had people from 13 countries and 31 states
Wow.
this weekend, so.
Last week I met 6 gentlemen that were on a motorcycle from Canada, spending
A lot of time
6
here.
days like riding out.
Well, I will say, being from, or spending lots of time in the Smoky Mountains, the hills and the mountains are actual real mountains. And you guys have hills here. For people to come here, to come to the hills, you are doing something so right already. So that's another reason that I'm so glad to be here and a part of this process with you. So how are we going to do this? Let's get to how. This is where we need your help. First of all, we want, in an ideal world, if I were the king of the world, I would have you all sign a declaration of expectations. Because if you don't demand this kind of stuff, if the citizens don't demand Athens to become 100% original, it won't be. It can't be. It has to be driven from you with demand. And I have this. Oh, and also you need to define it. Define what Athens means, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then finally design it. It's a 3D process. In the demand side, I want to read this to you. Athens is unique and one of a kind, is a unique and one of a kind place, and Athens should continue to stand out from every other community. As Athens citizens, we will strive to ensure that everything that is put on our ground celebrates the essence of 100% original Athens. I think that is the kind of thing you guys have inside of you already. It's just knowing when it's time to say it or to remember this is important. So you all need to understand the demand part because it's the base of what the whole rest of the process stands on. So what we want you to do, you probably saw this in the paper or you know a little bit about it. We have to have as many people taking photos as possible. And what I mean by that is, I don't know, I took a few photos of what I thought Athens was, but that's not probably what it really is to you. If I was doing this in my hometown of Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, the home of David Crockett, and he helped plan the city, I would go to the David Crockett house and take a real close-up picture of the split wood and the mortar, the log cabin of the field of that, and also take a picture of a coonskin hat, because that's what David Crockett wore, coonskin hat. And go and say, that's just an idea. You figure out where do I take a picture of? What does Athens mean to you? What's the essence of Athens to you? And again, what Paul said, it's not what you love about Athens necessarily. You may end up being that just by default. But it's what Athens is. What it isn't. That's what we need to see. And we need to see as many of these as possible. If you please, I would please, we have 35, 40 people here tonight probably, maybe more. If you could tell 2 friends, and they could tell 2 friends, then we may get a few hundred people taking these pictures. Very important. And if you do this, if the deadline is 3 weeks from, 3 weeks away, on June 21st, or 3 weeks from tomorrow. And in order to get the pictures rolling, send them to Paul and also tweet them on Essence of Athens. Is this correct, or is it G?
That's correct.
And also, we have a Facebook page now. Put them on the Facebook page, and we'll collect these over the 3 weeks. But if you don't want to take pictures, you can write. I've had people, 2 strange people, not strangers, two strange people I didn't know, they weren't strange. They wrote essays, long essays about Athens. I was floored about the detail of how much they loved this place. One woman wrote from Savannah, Georgia, moved to Savannah, Georgia, and moving back, and why she's moving back. It was a very detailed account, and it was very helpful. So if you want to do that, that would be fantastic. You could do that for us too. Another way to do this is, never mind that stuff I'll come with is to draw. If you can just sketch something up real fast, do that. And it doesn't have to be artist quality. Just do something. Kids can do it if they wanted to draw something with crayon. They can do that too. So please be our guest. And after you do that, Paul is going to have convene a committee to synthesize all this stuff. And if we get enough of what you think the essence of Athens is, we will be able to come up with a few good themes. And with those themes, we'll be able to do a lot with them and get some really good ideas for listen to this, story outlines. What I would like to do is, imagine there's a street pole here, there's a street pole. What story is that street pole? What story should the street pole tell to people who look at it? In planning, it gets so dry. And you all know the planning stuff, like zoning notes. They're really, really super dry. And it's not because we want them to be, it's because that's how they've always been. But what we're going to try out here is to make kind of transfer the zoning code idea into stories. Because after all, that's what we're all trying to do is make sure that Athens tells the right story. And we will write, the committee will write these story outlines based on what you came up with and all your input. But all the while, we'll have public participation the whole way through so you can make comments and make sure that we're on the committee is on the right track. Okay, almost finished here. Oh, here's a timeline. Here's a timeline for stuff. From now until the 21st, we're going to, can you all collect images, drawings, and writings? And then we're going to have, at the end of June, the committee convene. And then in mid-July, the public comment period about what we in the committee have been working on. And then in August, these story outlines and hopefully the renderings. When I say renderings, I mean drawings of an Athens street pole. Or maybe Athens decides that every street pole needs to be its own Athens street pole, not just one street pole throughout Athens. Whatever you come up with, we want to have depictions of that so you can understand what that looks like, and then make comments on that as well. By mid-September, the administration, which is the Athens administration, will get together and prioritize these things. So if whatever idea floats to the top, and if that idea is reasonable and cost-effective, then that rises to the top and locations are picked out on mid-September. And keep in mind, this is a plan. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, it doesn't mean it's going to happen soon. It may not ever happen, but just to get the plan down is how everything begins in the first place. And then in late September, we'll have a draft plan complete. And in that plan, it will have everything essence of Athens. It'll have what we've been through tonight, all of the process, and the renderings and the story outlines. And as a planner who's been in the field for a long time, and I've been a professor for 8 years, I know that this is going to be a remarkable document. It's going to be a really interesting and newsworthy document that we absolutely need to make sure to get right. And I wanted to end with something very important here. Y'all know you see what this is? It's where? Yes, and where it is.
The electric light parade, or?
I don't know what the parade is, but where? It's Main Street, USA.
Main Street, USA.
Okay? A lot of people think that what we're doing here, and I completely understand it, is branding. And I don't want this to be looked upon as branding at all. Now, what I mean by this is very important. What I mean by that is that branding Mr. Disney said, I think I want a main street. And we will have fake buildings up and down the street. And we'll have fake parades too. And everybody will go and love it. And they did. And it's exactly what happened. They were right. That's what happened. That's branding to me. This is what we're going to do. You're going to like it. And I'll reiterate that the opposite of branding is organic and community-based and bottom-up and collaborative and open, instead of, let's figure out what the slogan for the next cereal should be. That is not what we're doing. That can't be what we're doing. It has to be a lot more than that. Branding has been panned a lot in the city planning fields as not an effective way to use time. But what is an effective way to use time is to make sure that the story is told. And I hope that you understand the difference between that. So finally, Athens is awesome. And remember this, take the pictures, just to reiterate, Twitter, remember Facebook, remember Paul's email address. This is my email address if you just want to say hi, at designinglocal.com. And I will end here with just by saying what I started out saying in the beginning. This is going to be so much fun. It's going to be a community. Your community is already built, but it's going to be sort of a community exploratory experiments. I don't know how you can say it, but what's that? An art project? Well, an art project, yes, in a way, because the public realm is ordinarily thought of as just catalog box stuff. And if you have, and with public art, there's beautiful public art everywhere, and there's a great public art program here. But meshing the idea of making sure that you show up in everything is automatically art. I don't really think of it that way, but it definitely is. There's definitely something like that. Okay, so do any of you have questions or comments? Yes.
We live in a community that's typically not divided, but separated into two huge focuses. One is the community itself, and one is the university.
Yeah.
And my question of you is, in your input, I do the performance photography for the college. Do you want stuff from them input into this? Because I have access to this, so everything, all the everybody should have all of that. Or is that, are we restricting it to the community? It's a different.
I don't know. I don't know the politics. I would think that would be the case.
I would think that's fine, Bob.
We worked really hard to
What we
try
want, Bob, what we want to learn is what you and everybody else in this room, you specifically, Bob Leonard, what you think is the essence of Athens.
Well,
If that to you is Athens, then that's what we need to know.
that's precisely.
Same with everybody else in the room.
And it's what I wanted to bring up. It's not one direct answer because I'm not going to go do all this work if nobody wants it.
It's your impression of what we need to know, everybody else.
Anybody else? After all that, nothing? Really? Yes. Oh, go ahead.
Well, Lori is here because we're county people, and you can't take the county out of the city. But I'd like to, because I live out in the country, but I come to Athens.
Sure.
I love Athens, and I was kind of just wanting to get some feedback on how do we involve the county too.
I think that's a very good idea. What do you think?
I would say the same thing, Chris. If we're trying to learn about the essence of Athens. And if that has to do with things that take place outside the city limits, the closer you get to where Port and Washington intersect, from the outskirts, it's fine line between where that city limit is and where the township limits are. So it's the same issue, it's the same idea. Ideally, what we're going to be looking at are design elements and concepts that will be implemented within the city of Athens. However, as if things relate to the city of Athens, or relate to the townships or the county at large, there's nothing to say that we can't be discussing with the county commissioner or anybody else, with the township trustees, about things we can do throughout the community at large, all the time.
I have a question. You're from Tennessee, and Columbus, and you see Columbus, I want to do this someplace. And you have students who are from Camden, you have students who are from Bowling Green, you have students who are from, why did you choose Athens?
Because I knew that the people would respond. I knew of the place, and I mentioned a little bit of that in the presentation. I could have chosen anywhere. And there's something about this place that's very special, and that I think probably most of all because I knew people were open enough to want to try something like this. And you guys, I want to tell you, just on that note, it's really hard, as a planner, to figure out these sorts of questions, because in most places, there's not a lot of civic involvement at all. There's some meetings, even in Columbus, that has 800,000 people in the city, that maybe one person will show up, and it's a big, maybe a big issue. So Paul and I talked about how collaborative Athens is, and one of the things about you guys that is obvious standing on this side of things is that this really doesn't have a lot to do with me, and it has everything to do with you. And you could leave here and say, I don't think we really should do this, and that would be your decision. I have an idea, and I think Athens is the perfect place to try this out. But it's really up to you whether or not this works or not. And I had the hunch that it would work because of who you guys are.
Yes. I can tell you what we said about like the university in Athens County. What I get with the involvement of like social media, with using Twitter and Facebook, the importance of getting things out on that during that period now until the 21st. If you're using any of those things, you have friends that are outside the county, but maybe within Athens, or if it's people that with the university, that the sooner that gets up on there and they're seeing things go up, particularly this year, maybe they're going to start to put things in positive.
That's a really important thing to discuss right now. Let's have a really short discussion here, if you don't mind, about that. How do you guys propose to get the word out so it involves more of those two people or those other two people that come to the device? Do you think that the community would just automatically respond to things like if you send something out on Facebook or Twitter or call somebody, you think that you find some people to help spread the word? Otherwise, let us know, if Paul knows, but we have to figure out how in the first week at least are people really knowing what's going on, so that we'll be able to collect enough information by the end of 3 weeks. Facebook, Ken?
I already posted.
Thank you, Leslie.
Paul said that there are already about 30 people. 30 people that he doesn't know on Facebook already who's joined, so that obviously is working pretty well.
To bring it back to the university, we work really hard to tell those students that live here that they are part of the argument.
Okay.
So I really think that we should, they're not, to try to bridge that down, how to be good citizens, that you actually are part of this community.
That's a good idea.
Realizing, of course, that most of this event will take before the students come back.
Yeah, it will. It will.
There's some here.
There's some here. We don't know what some sessions look like. And again, they are some.
If we can affect the team of students who has a Twitter account
that they can take it
Exactly.
on ways.
Exactly.
Yes, what were we going to
I'm really surprised with everything going on.
You're not supposed to put it on your cell phone. You know
I
that.
We also talked about alumni, like you say, we don't talk about that, what they're members.
Well, if you guys have specific information that you'd like to share, please stay after and maybe talk to us, and we'll brainstorm about how to do some really initial things over the next couple of days. This business days to get the word out. Yes.
Brew Week is starting on the 21st, and then we're also having the art talk, which starts on the 26th. And I guess, what would be the harm in moving the date one more week, so that we can capture some of those folks that are going to be hopping, and also all the Brew Week activities?
Done.
You got something, Laura? As another plan?
Well, I just was going to reiterate what Chris had said earlier, your county commissioner, in that everybody comes into Athens County, and it isn't so much like what I've been hearing from you. Residents are a part of it, but it's not limited for city boundaries. I mean, if we look at the farmers market, look at how many people are coming in and bringing their food into the city of Athens.
I'll say that this process can be inclusionary to anybody who has any ties to Athens. That's what I would say. That if you come here to shop in Kroger from 20 miles out, that you have a stake in Athens. Anybody, I think that as many people that contribute will help us out. So I don't think we should limit anything at all.
And I think the last thing I want to say, what I think is really unique about Athens, is we have uptown, not downtown.
Yes. I'm glad I didn't say
So,
that.
I mean, that's a good point.
Yes.
This is talking right here, that one idea that if we're going to move the day, also keep in mind that about their orientation is going on, the next 2 weeks or so, and students and their parents will be understanding, so that might be opportunities to email the student activities, the student affairs staff on campus, and let them know what's going on. That way, they know. And I work with the alumni association, so
you do?
totally hit them up. A lot of them will be down here your week and so yeah.
You could do like first impressions of Athens from the freshmen.
Yeah.
Put it aside, and then alumni, Athens is Athens. And then that way.
That's a great idea. Any other great ideas while we're here together?
Banner over 4th Street with the Athens of Athens and under our house.
That's a beautiful idea. Is that possible?
Banner on 4th Street.
Banner across the street.
Probably already booked, so Brew Week and.
I think, well, there's nothing up right now, so,
Yeah.
right?
Anybody have contacts with people? You guys have banners? What else? Any other great ideas while we're here? Yes.
There's a lot of buildings and locations that have gone through various changes.
Yeah.
And the purpose that was stated in very described that.
Yes.
And to find maybe some pictures of document back when I had to go to the newspaper or something to start with historical society. But I would think that there would be some key locations that connect some of that area represented.
I think that's another great idea. That's good. Yes, a good designation of key locations. That's a great.
Probably the easiest way is still for anybody in this room who likes this idea, is going to be from your own word of mouth, any way that you think is the best way to do it. If you don't think this is a good idea and you think it's terrible and you hate it, probably the best thing to do would be to not. That's your decision too.
You can complain about that, that's the other word now.
Absolutely not. No, that's fine. Phone calls are fine.
You send it to City Hall, to the code office,
Where a lot of people respond, logs and they might not do anything.
Are you from the library?
Yeah, associated.
Great.
But anything else, as far as any kind of banner, the size of the banner, or anything like that, the library would be
Oh my goodness. So many people who should be here are here. So cool. It really is neat. Okay, well, it's almost 7:30 and have you had dinner yet? Let's go eat dinner. Thank you so much.